So we want to look at alter, and the first thing we want to see about the alter, let me keep these two together, is I'll keep them below. Renaming a table. So I'll say alter table. What's our table name at the moment? SQL Basics. SQL Basics. And I'll say rename to. Okay, why is it looking different? Am I spelling rename wrongly? Okay, rename to DBs. So you can see that the table names are in blue. So alter rename to DBs. Now run that. I say successful. Now if I run this guy, it will throw an error. Boom, it says SQL Basics does not exist, but you're still seeing it here, but it's actually not there. If I right click and refresh, you can see it has now changed to DBs. So I'll have to change my query as well to DBs. Good. Now we have renamed that successfully, and we're now seeing it as DBs. Okay. Alright. Now, if this were to be MySQL, MySQL now takes the same. This should be the same for MySQL. But if you are using earlier version, you might have to do rename table. Then you say SQL Basics to DBs. It will be rename table SQL Basics to DB. If you are in SQL Server, you use the SP_rename. So it will look something like this. Alter, so EXEC, then you say SP_rename, then you have your first name, SQL Basics, comma, DBs, right? So this is for, oops, so did I get that? DBs. So this is, why is it, oh, page down. So this is for SQL Server. Is that a rename? If you're using BigQuery, if you're using a DBO, you might have to put the DBO dot, okay, DBO dot SQL Basics. And for BigQuery, the major difference will be you have a lot of dot notation. For example, the database name, the table name, the schema, then you just have all those dots, dot, like that. So of course, this is pgadmin, and this is how we rename the table. Now, the next thing we probably want to do, let's run select all from database type again. Okay, just this two. Then right here, we have this. Okay, now we probably want to rename this as well to ID type, or type ID. That means the database type ID. So it will be type ID. So I want to rename that, and this is renaming table. This will be renaming column, and to rename column, it will be rename table, alter table basics, rename. Then we'll say rename, what's the column? Type. The column is type. Then we'll say rename to, that's rename type. Do not forget our column name is type. Rename type to type ID. Okay, type _ID. So if I execute this, now it says SQL Basic does not exist here. See, I just forgot that we have renamed it. So I'll copy this. It's now DBS or DBs. Then I'll run this again. Successful. So if I run this again, that's the select all. It's now showing type ID. Now want to empty what we have in there, or want to update what we have in there without deleting that column. Okay. How do we update what we have in there? Again, we'll go back to update, say update, and we'll say DBs, we're updating DBs, then set type ID with the equal to the set type ID equal to RL01. Then we'll say where DB, that's the name, is equal to relational. So this time we're not using the ID. Why are we not using the ID? Because we want to update this. If we use the ID, we have to check for all the IDs, and that's a long thing to do. So just use the what? The type ID, the current type ID. So it is where type ID. So updating type ID to this, where type ID before. Okay, where type ID is equal to relational. So we execute this. Alright, successful. Then we'll check, run this again. Now if we bring this up, so you can see all relational has now changed to what? RL01, the way we have it. Okay, let's bring that down. The next thing we want to do is update this as well. So you can do that, update non-relational to what? NRL, right? 02. So to do that, I'll just change this to NRL. Now change this to non-relational. And I'll run it. Successful as well. If we run, select from DB again. Successful as well. And you can see it. NRL, RL01. And they are now all updated. If, for example, you accidentally did this, your query will run without error, but you will not see the changes. Why? Because there is no database with non-relational. That is even before we changed it. Oh, and this is a mistake. This is supposed to be 02, not 01. 02. Why? If we check this, the database type, it is what? NRL02. So we have to change that. Now let me show you what I mean with this. So where NRL is this? I want to change it to 02. So let's say, for example, I change this to a lowercase accidentally, or I did something like this, NRL01. And I run this, says successful, but it says updated 0. Good. Then run this again, DBs, to check if it updated or not. And you can see it's still 01. It did not change. Why? Because it is case sensitive, because we pass this thing in quotes when we're inserting the data. So it takes anything that goes in quotes literally. So I'll have to type it exactly the way it was before. Capital R, capital L. And if I run this, Alt 5, you can see now it has updated 3. And if I run this again, Alt F5, and we check, oops, drag this up, you can see it's now NRL02. Good. Now I've been able to achieve normalization. Done. Of course, if you want to go for that to keep things as one NF, this is supposed to be a table on its own. Then this will be in another table where this is used. Okay? And we can still go for that to do that. But we'll have to, that means we need a third table name. And then we'll now see how to establish primary keys and foreign keys. I'll not be doing that in this video. We'll keep it for the next one, okay, to spice things up. All right, what other thing do we want to look at in this video? We want to look at I've seen this done, I've seen alter done, not completely, but we can now change, can rename column, rename table. Let's see how to change data type. So to change data type, say alter table, dbs, then alter column. What's the column? ID. With altering the type, what are we changing it to? To character of 5, for example. And then put a column. So let me show you what we want to alter before we alter it. Run dbs. Currently this is integer, so we want to change it to what? Character. So that's what we want to do. Now this is how I change. I just put this renaming changing data type, changing data type, d type. Okay, so changing data type. Of course, lines here and lines here, because they're just single line queries and I already used my semicolon. I'm keeping them together so I can know that these are all my alter query. The same way I'm keeping my select together, and I'm only keeping them together because of the view. Here I would rather keep them separate so that they are seen as different queries. Alright, so for example, if I have another update, it will not make sense for me to do it this way, right? Because the update is long, so I'd rather put space like this, then have another update. You get, just make things look clean. Now the next thing is we have rename table, renaming column. Now I want to change the data type. However, the word column here is optional. I can decide to remove it. So whether I put it or not, it doesn't matter. So in the first time we'll put it. So you see, so if I run this, alter successful, I run this again, I bring this up, you can see now from integer it is now character. Okay, so bring it down. Now if I want to change it back to integer, because I want to keep it on integer, I'll just do int again, or I type int in full. Now this time I'm removing column, just so you know that it is optional. Okay, I'll run it. Now this is a very interesting thing, and it says, wait, you're trying to do something. Don't worry, it's not because of the column that we removed. Okay, so we're trying to do something, but I cannot do it automatically. It says column. Get used to reading the error message. It's not a big deal. Be happy when you see it. Sometimes it will run without error and you're still not getting what you want. That is more dangerous. So error says column ID, that means the ID column you're talking about cannot be automatically changed or cast into the integer type. So it says you might need to specify, that means you might need to force it or be strict about it. So what do? We just copy this part without the quotes, copy it and include it in our query. So but before I do that, let me undo this. Okay, so we see what it was before and what it is now. So changing back, just put it that way, changing back from character to integer. Okay, now must we type quotes? Must we have the comment in front before it works? Oh, changing, really changing. My changing so changed. Okay, so must we have the comments in front before it runs? No, the comment is just for you to know the difference between the query we're writing. It is for you. For the one writing personally and working on a project, I won't put all of this. You should not bastardize your query with comments everywhere. Okay. So now this is what we want to do. What we said, column is not necessary, it's not important. Then we want to change back from character to integer. But the first time we run it, it's saying no, you can't do it automatically. So what do? We just copy this. This is what we should have done directly, but you will not know why I'm adding it. So you're saying it directly now, and then we'll add it. So we are saying use it. We're cast typing it. Right? If you're familiar with some programming language, you know what we casting from one data type to another. So changing it, we're saying, yeah, we know what we're doing. This is the first use. Change it from ID, change this ID to what? An integer from character. Again, let me show you that it is currently in character. See? Character of 5. But this time I want to change it back to an integer. So I'll run this, and this time it is successful. See? Because we had a using. So if data type is proving stubborn, just add using, but be sure you want to do that first. Then the column name, double full colon, then the data type you want to change it to. Now let me run this again, and if we go back up, now it's now on integer. Now you see how to what? Alter data type. And the last thing we want to see is adding column and dropping column. Okay, adding column and dropping column. I'll show you syntax for adding column and dropping column. So it says alter table dbs alter. Now we just use the word add. Like I said, you can use column, but it's optional. So you can say gender. Of course, gender column is very relevant to this table, and we'll still remove it. And we're saying the data type should be let's say character of 6. So adding new column gender. So if I run this, it's done successfully. If I run select all again, and I scroll up, hold on, alter table dbs add gender. Okay, run that again. Let me run this, exactly this. Okay, alter successful. Run this again. Good. Now you see we have gender. Of course, it will be null for now. All is on. It's all empty. That's how we had new column. And don't forget, for any new column you had, it goes to the end of your table, which makes sense. Same way when we had a new record, it goes to the bottom of our table. So the next thing we want to do, now is to drop the column. So how do we drop it? Copy the same query, and then we use the word drop. Now, when we are deleting something or we're taking it out, we do not need to add the data type. It doesn't care. Okay, so this is how we delete the data type. It does not care. So we're saying alter table, this particular table, drop the gender column. And be careful when you use it, because it's going to take out, if I do drop db now, it's going to take out all of this entire column. Okay, so be careful how you use it. So I want to drop this. I'll just say drop, and I run it. Alter table successful. If I run dbs again, I'm using the shortcut, that's why I'm not going up there. Alt F5. Okay, so I've run this again. Now you see that it's gone. Okay, so let me add comments. I intentionally did not add comments initially, so you know it runs without comments. So removing columns. Now do not forget that alter is a DDL. Now since alter is a DDL, data definition, it alters or it changes the structure. So far we changed the column name, add a new column, remove a column, change data type. It's still the structure. It has nothing to do with what is inside. Do you get that? So but update is for what is inside. To delete something that is inside the table, we use delete. But to take out a column, we use drop. So drop is for column, delete is for a record or a row. Alter is for columns. Alter is for column or are for columns, while update is for row or records. So keep that in mind. Very, very important and useful. And the last thing you can do is also what? To add constraints. You can add what? Constraints. So let's just say add constraints. For example, we want to add primary key to a column. So add constraint. That's how it's spelled, right? Yeah, I believe so. Let me put space. So for adding constraints, since we have different constraints that we'll likely add, and we'll not be going through all of them, I'll just give you the syntax. Okay, so it will be alter table, the table name first, the table name, then you do add constraint. Okay, so you know it's a constraint, and this time you should add a constraint. You know earlier when we did add for a column, I said column is optional, but for constraints you need to put it so that I can know what you're adding. So add constraint, then your constraint name, then your constraint definition, then your constraint definition or define constraint definition. All right, so here let me take this out, add constraints. So let's give you an example of, let's say, primary key, so you see what it looks like in reality. All right, Control C, Control V. Now this will be DBS, and then we'll say we want to add a constraint. So we'll say this will be a primary key, and then we'll say primary key. Then we'll put in bracket. So let's say we want to make this guy the DB ID, which is majorly the ID. Let me show you quickly. On F5, so this ID on the database itself, the primary key. So we'll say ID, then we'll delete the rest. So alter table DBs, add constraints. So say it will be it's good to see ID primary key, or we can say so that we know from the table where it is coming from.